Failure rarely announces itself. It hides in unfinished plans. In alarms you snooze 3 times. In goals you promise yourself you'd start next Monday. Sometimes it looks like a man sitting alone in his truck during lunch break, staring at a steering wheel longer than necessary. Maybe that man is you. Trying, working, surviving, but feeling like you're moving in circles. Daniel Ortiz knew that feeling too well. At 32, he worked construction on the south side of the city. 10-hour shifts. Concrete dust in the air. Steel beams clanging like thunder against the sky. The pay was decent. But Daniel felt stuck. Every building he helped construct rose higher than his own life seemed to. Daniel once dreamed of becoming an architect. In high school, teachers praised his drawings. Clean lines. Creative designs. One teacher even said, "You see buildings differently." But life didn't move like dreams. His father got sick. College became impossible. Daniel started working construction. Temporarily. Temporary turned into 12 years. Now every morning at 5:30 a.m., his alarm buzzed beside a half-empty coffee mug. He'd silence it, stare at the ceiling, and think the same thought. This can't be it. But then he'd roll out of bed anyway. Boots on. Hard hat. Another day. His coworkers didn't complain much. Most of them had accepted the rhythm of the job. Work. Paycheck. Weekend. Repeat. But Daniel carried a quiet frustration. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just heavy. His biggest problem wasn't the job. It was hesitation. Daniel kept telling himself he'd start studying architecture again. Next month. Next year. When money improved. When life slowed down. Excuses disguised as timing. One afternoon during lunch, Daniel sat in his truck sketching a building on scrap paper. Clean glass walls. Modern structure. His coworker Ray leaned against the window. "You still doing that drawing thing?" Ray asked. Daniel shrugged. "Just killing time." Ray laughed. "Man, you've been killing time for 10 years. The words hit harder than Ray meant them to. Daniel folded the paper slowly. 10 years. That night he couldn't sleep. Rain tapped softly against his apartment window. The digital clock glowed 2:41 a.m. Daniel sat up and opened an old folder in his closet. Inside were sketchbooks from high school. Page after page of buildings. Ideas. Dreams. He flipped through them slowly. Then he noticed something strange. Every drawing stopped halfway through the notebook. Every single one. Unfinished. Half-built dreams on paper. That's when he realized something painful. His real problem wasn't lack of talent. It was fear of finishing. Because finishing meant testing the dream in the real world. And what if the real world said no? The next morning at the job site, Daniel worked in silence. Steel sparks flashed as welders worked nearby. Cranes groaned overhead. During lunch, instead of sketching, he opened his phone and searched one thing. Online architecture courses for beginners. His heart beat faster than it should have. Not because it was hard. Because it was real. He signed up for a night course. 2 hours. Twice a week. Affordable. But terrifying. The first class felt awkward. Most students were younger. Some straight out of college. The instructor asked everyone to introduce themselves. When it was Daniel's turn, his voice almost stuck. I work construction. I want to learn design." A few heads nodded. Nobody laughed. Something small shifted inside him. Weeks passed. Work during the day. Study at night. Daniel was exhausted. More than once he thought about quitting. Especially after failing his first design assignment. The instructor wrote one sentence across the top of his paper. "Your ideas are strong. But you stopped halfway." There it was again. Halfway. That night Daniel sat at his kitchen table staring at the assignment. He wanted to close the laptop. Forget the class. Return to the safe routine. But instead, he remembered something simple his father used to say. Most people don't fail because they're weak. They fail because they stop early. Daniel reopened the file. He stayed up until 1:30 a.m. finishing the design. It wasn't perfect. But it was complete. For the first time in years, Daniel finished something he started. 1 year later, Daniel still worked construction. But not the same way. Now he worked closely with site planners, reviewing blueprints, helping engineers solve structural problems. Because Daniel understood something others didn't. He knew how buildings actually came together. Slowly. Piece by piece. Just like progress. He wasn't an architect yet. But he wasn't stuck anymore either. The biggest change wasn't his job. It was his mindset. Daniel stopped waiting for the perfect time. He started finishing things. And finishing, he realized, builds momentum. Just like laying bricks. One at a time. Failure doesn't usually happen in one big moment. It happens when we stop halfway. When we delay dreams. When we tell ourselves, later. But success often begins with a simple decision. Finish what you start. Even when it's uncomfortable. Even when it's slow. Even when nobody notices. Because unfinished dreams stay heavy forever. Finished ones build your future. So ask yourself one question tonight. What did you start, but never finish? And what would happen if you finally did?